Hey everybody, welcome back to Front Page Fitness. This is episode 19. I'm still Eric Trexler. I'm still joined by the Dr. Lauren Colenso-Semple. Lauren, how are we doing tonight?
Do you think we need to continue to announce the episode number at the top of every show?
I think we should, just so people don't get disoriented. You know, people like to do them in order. If you can't listen to 19 without listening to 18. And so surely if I were just going through my Spotify, I'd want to say, wait a minute. I'm going to be completely lost if I don't go back and do the previous episode. So it's really a courtesy for maintaining continuity of the show and helping make sure that the plot line doesn't get disoriented.
I imagine this will be important since, if every listener did their job, they will have each brought 150,000 new listeners to this show. And so it's good for people to know that they actually need to listen to 18 other episodes before they can even listen to this one.
Yeah, that's the way the director intended it, and that is the way that you should certainly do it. But you're good? Everything's good?
Everything's good.
Cool. I'm getting surgery soon. I'm looking forward to it. Haven't been able to lift lately, which is a bummer. So I'm excited for that. 2 surgeries in the span of 14 months here. Basically, my body was indestructible. I got a lot out of it, did a lot with it. Very happy about that. Then I hit the age of 33, I guess, and it just completely fell apart. So,
you can just be honest and tell everyone you're getting a facelift.
I am getting a facelift. I'm going to come back and look like, have you ever seen, there was like a person who tried to make themselves look like a Ken doll.
With all the implants?
Implants, the completely redone face, the whole deal. I'm going to come back looking like somehow an animated living wax statue. Shiny face, completely different cheekbones and jawline and lips and the whole deal. So
I think that guy personally designed his own calf implants and pec implants, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens of surgeries. And never is lifted a weight, but looks jacked.
Yeah. I mean... That'll be an interest. I'm curious to see how those will kind of look as one reaches their 70s, 80s, and beyond. Might need to have some revision surgeries there. In my opinion, that's not a place where you really want to innovate, is in cosmetic surgery, because I feel like it takes a few cracks before they kind of really hone in on the best techniques there.
But you don't want to be the guinea pig for the new surgery?
Right, yeah. I'd like to see them try a few versions and then say, oh, it turns out this way is now the best, now that we tried the other 4 that don't go very well. But in any case, I'm going to come back looking like a completely different person, and we're going to never mention it. We're going to act natural, not acknowledge it. No, I have an umbilical hernia. No idea how it happened. It just happened. Thought I was developing a new belly button. Turns out you can't do that. So, they're going to cut me open down the middle of the abdomen like a fish, which pains me to say as a vegetarian. But then they'll stitch me up. I'll be all right, and I'll be back to lifting. So I look forward to that. Lauren, we got an email from a listener, Alec. I know Alec did their homework and recruited 150,000 people to listen to the show. But they sent us an email following up on some previous topics. Again, Lauren, this is why I let people know, hey, you're in episode 19. Make sure you catch all the other stuff. So first of all, Smoothie King is capitalizing on the trend of fibermaxxing, which we discussed in a previous episode. Of course, maxing has 2 X's in it, because why not? And at first I thought maybe this was an extrapolation or exaggeration, where they would maybe say, hey, we have a fiber pack smoothie, but no, it literally says fibermaxxing smoothie with 2 X's. So you can jump in there, get your bananas, peanut butter, dates, blueberries, wild
blueberries.
Yeah, wild blueberries, of course, almonds, fiber blend enhancer, super grains enhancer, stevia, plant-based sweetener, and spinach, organic, of course. So there is your fibermaxxing smoothie. The one thing I'm a little disappointed in, let's see how much fiber it actually has.
16 grams, according
16 grams? Okay, that's a reasonably fibrous smoothie, so I got to at least give them that. But yeah, I'm curious about it. I don't know if you knew this, I'm not a big Smoothie King guy. It's not a place I frequent. But I'm very perplexed because I open it up, the first tab like any restaurant, says our menu. And I'm like, okay, cool. You see, download our app, find a store, order now. All that stuff looks normal. The second tab is GLP-1 support, which, Lauren, what is that?
Yeah, you know.
Like I'm going to read you the names of these products. This is not where I expect this to take this segment, but it says GLP-1 support menu.
Looking at that.
Number one is called Gladiator GLP-1. The other one's called The Activator Recovery GLP-1. Slim and Trim GLP-1, Mango Greens, Keto Champ GLP-1. Now here I'll be fair. GLP-1, when you're on this class of drugs, my understanding is that, your appetite falls off pretty substantially. So maybe, I guess they're trying to say like, hey, we're going to get you some extra protein and fiber in the mix, is what it sounds like they're saying. So I guess these are kind of protein-ish, like we're talking 22, 24 grams of protein, anywhere between 6 and 15 grams of fiber. You know what? I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate the grind, but calling these GLP-1 support shakes, I feel like you just put a fiber scoop and a protein scoop in. So I feel like they're kind of getting a little, kind of overextending themselves with the marketing here. What do you think, Lauren?
Yeah, that's like saying these are my GLP-1 goldfish or my GLP-1 Doritos. Like, you can't put it in the name.
Yeah, GLP-1 goldfish, the only difference is that per serving, instead of 1.5 grams of protein, it has like 4.
No, it's GLP-1 because you'll eat less. So maybe GLP-1 is the new term for diet.
I don't know, but there's interesting ramifications of that. And that's maybe a discussion for a later date. I'm somewhere between not liking it and hating it. That's my current position on it. Okay, number 2 from Alec. This is an extensive email. So Alex says they can confirm that the phrase "type shit" is used in the in the affirmative. They were actually very grateful because they listened to that episode a day before they encountered it in the wild. One caveat they mentioned, which is true, they said that they got the sense that the usage of the phrase "type shit" is a little bit more like saying "right on" rather than a direct yes. So that is kind of the vibe that I get from it. But I will say, in the instance it was thrown at me from a cool young person, I was asking them a yes or no question. And it was literally like a very matter of fact, did you do this thing? And the answer was "type shit." So it sounds like it kind of traverses the entire spectrum of answers in the affirmative, but I think generally it is a little bit more like saying like "right on" rather than just a direct yes. And then, of course, number 3, Alec ordered the pants, the geriatric pants that I swear by. I haven't worn them much lately because I live in North Carolina. It's been like 95 and humid for 3 months, so I'm a shorts guy lately. But pretty soon they're going to be back in the rotation, and they're all that's going to be in the rotation. So I'm glad to hear Alec is loving the pants. He says they're great. And honestly, I've never encountered someone on the internet who didn't feel the same way. So like, this is one of those products where sometimes you make an incredible product and it doesn't just blow up and revolutionize the world, even though it should. And this is definitely one of those cases where there's no reason that there are men out there wearing pants that aren't these. And yet it happens.
2 questions. Are there shorts version? Like, are there geriatric shorts? Because that seems like a missed opportunity.
I would think so, but the thing about, I appreciate you taking an interest in my passions, but you're kind of out of your league here. This is not your wheelhouse, geriatric pants. Really, the typical gym short is very well suited for a geriatric population like me and my peers. So like
basketball short?
Yeah. So like I wear basketball shorts every day. And so I don't really have a lot of needs that would be opened up by like a geriatric pant. It is the long pants that tend to be very unforgiving, a lot of fiddling, getting them on and off. You have to wear a belt. It's chaos. And so I think, gym shorts tend to have ample space. You're swimming in them. Uh, but sometimes pants these days, like khakis or slacks, they make them so tight. It's like you need some space. You got to move around a little bit, and maybe Lauren, you've got a pair of Depends on underneath them, maybe, which requires some extra space as well. I don't know. But anyway, all that is to say, the shorts, I'm sure they have them. I'm sure they have a nice looking like khaki short with a nice elastic waistband. You could throw a belt through the loops, maybe a fake zipper as they put on the slacks. So I'm sure they're out there. It's just not a need that I've really explored yet. Does that make sense?
I suppose. My second question is, you said everyone that you've encountered on the internet. So are you part of some like fan group? Is there a Reddit thread, Facebook group? Like how are you connecting with all these fellow geriatric pant lovers?
No, I mean, I'm like the unofficial spokesperson of these pants. I've never heard anyone else recommend them. So basically, people try them and then they get back to me. They shoot me a DM and they say, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And I was thinking, like, honestly, this company owes me. Like, I know how much revenue I've generated for them. Like, I have a very conservative estimate. I should be getting a kickback, but the more I thought about it, based on their website, I think that would technically mean that I'm like in a partnership with the Chinese government, which I think would then be, I'd probably have to report that to my university and stuff. So on second thought, I don't need an official partnership or anything. I'm happy to just do a good deed and let people know about these pants because they are honestly a huge game changer for quality of life. So I'm glad people are taking advantage.
And you will remember to link them in the description, as you often forget to do.
Yeah, I didn't realize I have to do it every time, but yes, if I remember,
You can't give such a glowing endorsement and then because people will be mad.
people should have looked at the show notes for all 18 prior episodes because they've been there before. But if you go to Amazon and you search geriatric pants, you do not have to look very long before you. What did we say the brand was called?
I don't
We don't.
know.
Okay, I'll put the link in the doggone show notes. Okay, just so I don't get more hate mail about it. All right, Lauren. Should we move on? Get some content in here.
Sure.
Okay, so one last thing. The kind of referencing back to a prior episode. Uh, Last episode we talked about the Shiwi. I think it was last episode. So this was a device that you use on a regular basis.
Oh, exclusively.
Yeah. So would you?
Even though you're not supposed to pee standing up, there's a lot of rules we learned last episode about how to and how not. Actually, mostly how not to pee.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're doing untold damage to your urinary system every time you use this. But anyway, give the good people a rundown again, a little reminder of what the Shiwi is.
So this is in the female urination device category, very broad category, very popular. And I use it in the context of camping because it means you can camp without fully taking your pants off and squatting. It was an interesting experience. Probably not one that I would broadly recommend, but I got a DM from someone reminding me that this is actually used in the female bodybuilding community because on your show day, when you have that tan on, you don't want to mess it up. And if you accidentally go pee-pee on yourself, you're going to get a nice little streak. So the Shiwi is very handy on show day for the physique competitor.
Yeah, no, that is a use case that I honestly, the moment you put it in the outline, I was like, yep, that's actually pretty solid. So just a reminder, what we have here with the Shiwi is essentially a contoured cup that fits around the female genital area, and then there is a spout that comes out from it, and so then, like you said, you could basically stand and urinate with the spout essentially poking out of your pants, which is quite an innovation. So
If you ever wondered what it is like to pee like a man, this will give you the closest experience you're going to get.
did you feel more empathy for men after walking a mile in their shoes?
No, it's way easier to pee standing up.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, I'm glad we could form that bridge and share that experience. But no, so the thing about tanning for bodybuilding shows, it's been a long time since I competed. But back in the day, you basically had this awful decision. You were like, okay, am I going to have them do the spray on tan at the venue, or am I going to do the kind of do-it-yourself version with a more oil-based tanner? And back in the day, the one that was really popular was called Dream Tan. So here's the problem. There's no winning. If you use Dream Tan, it's this oily kind of like oil-based thing that you kind of slap onto your skin, literally, and it never, ever, ever, ever sets or dries, which means you do it in your posing trunks, also known as a Speedo, or bikini type attire in the female divisions. You put it on, and basically if you put a shirt on over it, you've smudged everything. You will have to do touch-ups. If you sit down, you have smudged whatever was on the back of your legs. You will have to do touch-ups. If you lean back on a chair, your upper back, you will have to do touch-ups. So you are engaged in a very long day, a 16-hour day worth of just perpetually trying not to touch anything and then doing repeated touch-ups in perpetuity. It is awful. It is so annoying, and the venues get filthy because this stuff, if you touch anything, it rubs off on whatever you touch. So that method sucks. The other method also sucks, which is they do the spray tan at the venue, and it tends to be a more water-based kind of solution. Great, because it actually dries in place, and you can generally put a shirt on over it, whatever, you're good to go. However, any bit of moisture, it will start running. So if you break a sweat, and there's sweat running down your head or whatever, your armpits are sweating, it will smear, and you'll just have these streaks where you are not tan there. So all that is to say, when you go that route, you are just avoiding anything that even seems like moisture. You're being very careful when you take a sip of water, anything in the bathroom. You certainly can't wash your hands all day. It's just chaos. It is probably one of my least, I don't want to be hyperbolic. My two least favorite things about bodybuilding, it's not starving myself. It's not essentially not being able to sleep for the last like 6 weeks of prep. The worst part is having to shave your whole body, which is so tedious and annoying. And then having to do this tanner stuff. It is terrible. So I totally understand why someone would use a Shiwi, because it is one of the many things that can just make your day so annoying and tedious and cumbersome. So very creative use of the Shiwi. Props to them. All right, Lauren, should we get on to some new stuff?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so we talked fibermaxxing. Now it's time to talk sleep maxing. Always with 2 X's. You got to have 2 X's. But here's what I don't get. This is one where I just wanted to be surprised. So I haven't looked into this at all. The headline that you put was, this is a verbatim quote, neck hanging routine for sleep maxing. I cannot fathom what a neck hanging routine is, and I am on the edge of my seat.
So, sleep maxing is a catch-all term for activities and products aimed at optimizing sleep quality. Doesn't sound that terrible. However, we did speak about mouth taping on a previous episode. That is sometimes involved in the sleep maxing realm. But what's new in this article is there's a claim that, insomnia, it can be cured by people hanging by their necks with ropes or belts and swinging their body in the air. So you can see a visual of this, and it's apparently originating in China. So you're probably familiar with it given your business relationships.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was at least one fatality from this practice. So people are warning about the dangers of hanging by your neck. It's like a noose, and then you're kind of swinging.
They're saying everything is bad for you nowadays. You can't even hang by your neck.
And that, not only is it potentially dangerous, it actually probably won't improve your sleep, which is shocking, because as soon as I saw that, I was like, obviously this is a game changer for sleep. Come on.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just you can't win. You try to do something for your wellness, and then they say do not put this weird harness around your head and then swing around by your neck like a rag doll. It's difficult to really convey exactly what's going on in this image. I know podcasting, there's a little bit of theater of the mind, trying to narrate an image here, but this is a man. Imagine like you were a child on a swing set. And imagine you were really getting after it. So we're not talking about, little tiny back and forth. We're talking about, when you're going so hard on the swing, you think you might actually swing back around and do a full loop. But now imagine that you're a 50-year-old man and you are swinging by your neck, wearing a harness with your hands behind your back. Because that is like, I, I really think it's important to note the hands behind the back, because it gives one hint of like a very casual nature of what's happening here. Like, oh, just stand around with my hands behind my back. It also very much looks like his hands could be bound behind his back, and this is some kind of like medieval torture device. So this man is swinging around by his neck with his hands maybe clasped, maybe bound behind his back, and he is he's almost parallel with the ground. Like this man is really, really swinging on the swing set. So needless to say, looking at this image, I do not get a picture that tells me this is optimal health in action. This looks wildly dangerous. And like, here's the thing about your neck, Lauren. Let's say you're doing all sorts of wacky stuff to it, and by the grace of the good Lord above, you don't die. Necks are not resilient, robust structures. Like, you mess up your neck, it makes your life harder for the rest of your life. Like, these are tiny, tiny, like if you look at a skeleton, you look at the lumbar vertebrae, these big workhorses. These cervical vertebrae are tiny. They've got all these little bony processes. They're just delicately arranged. They can essentially take nothing. So the idea, I'm just begging you out there, please do not swing around by your neck. It is never a good idea. And another thing, Lauren, this is unrelated. Well, it's a tangent, but please, I am begging you. And I don't normally make like totally categorical across the board statements like this. Never let a person do a chiropractic adjustment on your cervical spine. Never, ever, ever do it. That is my request to everyone who has this podcast touching their ears. It is
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, possibly millions at this point.
Several million people. It is not an evidence-based practice. It is not going to fix the issue you have. And there have been more than a couple instances of very, very severe life-altering injuries from cervical chiropractic adjustments gone wrong. So if you are thinking today, what I want to do is either swing around by my neck or have somebody thrust their elbow with all their weight behind it into my neck when it's in a vulnerable, twisted position, Lauren, I would say don't do either of them. How do you feel?
That's not how they do it. They don't thrust their elbow into your neck.
Okay, the base of your palm, or grab you by the chin and give it a yank.
It's like a big twist.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily sound better.
It's not. I agree with you about the risks of adjusting the cervical spine. I am a self neck cracker though. I'll do like a this and a this, and it feels good.
I can live with that because there's not like a 200-pound man putting all of his weight into that. Like I can live with a little. For reference, if you're listening,
Right.
Lauren did not even apply pressure with her hands. She basically just turned her head. So I fully support your ability to turn your head as you see fit. But yeah, I think sometimes people really understate or fail to fully appreciate the well-documented risks of chiropractic, especially cervical adjustments in the literature. Like, it's not unusual to see case study after case study of individuals who essentially suffer strokes that are directly linked to a recent prior chiropractic adjustment. People that are super healthy, young, and not at all at a high risk for a stroke, except for the fact that they're having these adjustments done. So all that is to say, take care of your neck. The reason I'm so animated about this, I had lingering neck issues for a long time after my wrestling career. Because wrestling is obviously, it's a sport where you're gonna have a lot of pressure on your neck. You're gonna land on your head, shoulder, neck area sometimes. It's a very neck intensive sport relative to most. And I remember getting a little neck injury from football, which then was compounded by my wrestling career. And man, it was a minor neck issue that really, really, really bothered me for several years after. So take care of your neck. You only get one, and those neck issues are very, very difficult to address once they arise. So take care of it, folks. All right, Lauren.
Sound advice.
Anything else on sleep maxing, or are we good to move on here?
I think we're good to move on, but I think these next two stories are sort of beauty related, if we will.
Perfect.
And I posted something on Instagram today because I opened my computer this morning, and between a few minutes on Instagram and a few minutes looking for headlines for our episode, I was encountered by a ton of messages about the things that I'm doing wrong. And so I thought I would share this with you.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, I'm all. Listen, if that's your hook, if that's the teaser, is we're going to talk about Lauren being wrong, I'm always on board.
So the internet gave me, completely unsolicited advice. I wasn't looking to see if I was doing any of these things right or wrong, but apparently I'm on the wrong diet. I'm doing the wrong exercises. I'm eating the wrong protein source. I'm wearing the wrong bra. I'm using the wrong concealer. I'm taking the wrong supplements. And I'm using the wrong shampoo. That was a lot of negative energy to start my day. So it was interesting for me to then come across a headline that is another thing that I've been doing wrong, and that is sleeping in your earrings. So I have these small studs in my earlobes, very dainty, very small, not long, dangly earrings. And apparently, we shouldn't be sleeping in them because it can age you prematurely. And there's a dermatologist warning on my favorite publication, the New York Post. And the advice here is that, as we age, the earlobes get saggier, and the holes the piercing holes can get looser. And, then we end up with premature stretching of the lobes. And the way to fix this, which is the most interesting part of the article, is to get filler in your earlobes.
Wow. Earlobe filler.
So this is a problem I hadn't contemplated, relating to aging.
Yeah, did they talk at all about how this applies to gauges? Should I be worried if I have gauges about the cosmetics of my earlobe into my 60s and 70s?
I don't know the New York Post's stance on this, but anecdotally, I've known people who had those, and it seems like some people, they shrink back. So, meaning like you were one of those teenagers who made an absolutely terrible decision because it looks bad and it's stupid. But you get a piercing and then you decide that you wish that hole was larger, and so you stretch it, and then you get another larger gauge, and then you stretch it, and ultimately you either have some like quarter size piece of metal in your earlobe, or you take it out and you just have like this hole with like floppy earlobe skin. It's a terrible, terrible look. So take care of your neck and don't do this to your ears. But anecdotally, I will say I've seen people who have had not crazy quarter size ones, maybe let's say dime size, and it has gone back, but others it does not. And I believe the only way to correct that is surgically.
Yeah. So it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's kind of just this like critical threshold in terms of just like the diameter of, the earring that you're using. If you're going bigger and bigger and bigger, that seems to be the case, right? Because I can't imagine if you're getting all the way up to, like you said, like the size of a quarter. Have you ever seen or heard of that actually closing all the way back up?
Never. And even with smaller gauges, like I regrettably got my belly button pierced. I don't want to talk about it, but that hole is still there, and I haven't had a belly button ring in many, 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 many years. So, like, could I fit something through it? Probably not, but you can still see that it was once there, and that's not a very large gauge piercing. Don't make
Yeah.
fun of me. I see your face.
No, I was laughing because of me.
You
I
approve at your belly button pierced?
No, but I did have 3 piercings historically.
Eyebrow?
Uh, no, not eyebrow. In a past life, many, many years ago, on a whim, that's what we'll call it, I, with some friends, it didn't go to a place. We just, did it
Ooh,
at home. But
great.
I did, let's see, I did both my ears and my lip.
Your lip?
Yeah.
Oh,
So those were self-pierced
like
and,
lower lip?
yeah, lower lip. And,
Did you put a ring in it? A hoop?
no, so here's the thing. This was in high school. And so this was on like a Friday night, pretty late at night, I must admit. And so I go back home Saturday, and my parents look at me, and I was like, I'm not really sure what kind of reaction this is going to elicit, but we'll see. We'll play it out. And they were just perplexed. Like they kind of chuckled, and they're like, "Hey, whatever, man. Do what you want to do." And I was like, "Okay, this is cool. I might go find some jewelry." And what really got me though is even as a young man, I had a very heightened sense of kind of like conscientiousness. I wanted to be perceived as doing the right thing, and living the right way, etc. And I put a tremendous amount of stock in the adults in my life, my coaches, my teachers, my parents, etc. And the thought of going into school on Monday and interacting with my coaches and teachers with 3 new holes in my face, I couldn't. It just was not who I am in my own self-image, how I see myself. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. So I basically, I've neglected to mention what I pierced them with was, what do they call it? Safety pins? Is that the correct term?
Yeah.
Sanitized, completely sanitized. It was quite a medical procedure. Um, but yeah, I did, it was not my best look. So
No.
after a weekend of
Wait.
piercing guy,
You pierced, meaning you just stuck a safety pin in your lip and closed it?
yeah, that's correct.
Wow.
It was a different time. You have to understand the context. Back in the day, that was considered a totally normal, totally cool thing to do. But times have changed, Lauren. People are saying type shit now instead of yes. But back then, that was completely normal. So yeah, I too have been a piercing person with piercings that were ill-advised. I'll let the listeners debate. What was more ill-advised? Lauren getting a professional navel piercing, or Eric putting 3 safety pins in his face and then leaving them there for a weekend? But I will say, 0 out of 3 got infected. We did the proper disinfecting procedures, which for a drunk high school kid, I think is very impressive. So yeah, all's well that ends well. And I think actually I do still kind of have like, you can tell where those holes were. So yeah, if you're thinking about, dabbling in the world of massive gauges in your ears, you might want to think more about the future than apparently we did, Lauren, with our piercings.
Well, because you might end up needing earlobe filler.
Yep. I will say, do you think there's any like legitimacy to this in terms of the idea that like sleeping, like getting back to the actual topic, sleeping in very small, dainty studs, as you called them, do you really think that that's going to have any measurable impact on how saggy your earlobes get?
I mean, I think then you should, why wouldn't the advice be don't wear earrings regularly, period? Like if that's true, because I don't
Yeah.
see how I can see how maybe you shouldn't sleep in earrings because if you're tossing and turning, maybe you could damage them or loosen the stone. But I don't see for me the image that they give, which is somebody who has a piercing that, without an earring, it looks like a kind of vertical mark. It's elongated. It is stretched out, but that to me looks like this is someone who wore a lot of heavy jewelry. Because if you have heavy dangly earrings, then it's going to pull on the lobe and stretch the hole down.
Yeah. So you're thinking it's less about, the fact that it's at night, less about the 8-hour wear time as you're sleeping, but more about just like in your earring selection, you probably don't want to get the really heavy stuff.
Yeah, and if you're gonna wear those, then don't wear them all the time.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Kris Jenner allegedly, according to journalism at the New York Post, hard-hitting reporting, underwent earlobe reduction surgery in 2018. So
Then that's the only surgery she's had. Otherwise, she's aging gracefully.
yeah, it looks like that's the only one. So there you go. I can't imagine. I know this is a male perspective. It doesn't really count. Things are different, but I just can't imagine getting to a point where I had so few problems in my life that the big one was these damn earlobes of mine. Like I'm gonna take care of this once and for all. Like yeah, if I ever get my list of problems down that low that we're onto the earlobes and we're addressing that stuff, then I'll feel like things have gone pretty well for me.
Yeah, I think this is why I tacked it on to the very long list of things that we're apparently already doing wrong. Where does it end? Where does it end? And these are
What,
expensive
cosmetic
procedures.
improvement? Where does that end? Or where does you being wrong end?
No, advice about fixing problems you weren't aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the internet was designed for. Well, let me restate that. 5 years ago, the internet was designed for quickly written pieces with optimized keywords to tell you everything you're doing wrong. Now it's made for AI-generated short articles, probably a little bit less keyword focused, but again, still just to convince you of everything you're doing wrong. So I don't think it's going to let up. I am curious, what's wrong with the shampoo you're choosing? Why are you doing this to yourself?
Oh, these are everywhere where it's like, I thought I had straight hair, and so I was using shampoo for straight hair, but it turns out I have wavy hair, and so you need to go and take a quiz and figure out what kind of hair you have. And then as soon as you start using this other shampoo, your hair is going to look dramatically different, like you just got it done at the salon.
Wow.
Sounds totally legit.
Yeah. I will say, my hair situation's different than it used to be, in the sense that there are fewer follicles than I used to have. And I've been led to believe that number will continue going down. So I made the decision that my hair care routine is essential. I'm on a terminal hair care routine. This is it for me. And that is whenever I have enough time and energy, I shave it. So for me, I feel like there's plenty of downsides to that. But the one upside is this is a list of problems that no longer apply to me. I don't have bad hair days anymore. My shampoo situation is completely sorted out. So I'm going to consider myself lucky in terms of the net impact here.
Because no one can convince you you're using the wrong one.
Yeah, it's just one less thing to be wrong about on the internet, which Lord knows I need it. All right, Lauren, let's talk about something that we've been meaning to talk about for a long time, something that we need to address because it's kind of the elephant in the room. We're kind of the only fitness people that haven't addressed this topic yet. So the headline from the New York Post is, "Do you need Hole-Tox? Unusual anal Botox can treat constipation." So, Lauren, in the most professional, medical sounding way possible, what in the world are we doing here?
Well, on this article, they actually have an extremely, professional, medically accurate depiction to explain it, and that would be a an iced donut with sprinkles, and then two syringes sort of aimed at said donut.
Yeah, and it's worth noting this is a pink donut with sprinkles. It's worth noting that the donut to the syringe ratio for this metaphor is way off. These syringes are approximately as wide as the diameter of the donut. So just everything about it is from start to finish very jarring, very visually unappealing. But yeah, go on.
So, Botox is more commonly used in the face for wrinkles. It can also be used in the underarms, which can reduce sweating. I haven't heard of this particular use case, but apparently, when Botox is injected into the muscle, it can help relax the muscle, relieve spasm, and restore proper function by supporting the healing of fissures and hemorrhoids caused by constant straining. And if you're concerned about having a needle inserted into such a delicate area, devotees say the wins outweigh the winds. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got that.
There's
Sorry.
more. There's more. Sorry. More
I'm
recently,
sorry. I want to, you know me, Lauren. I've been podcasting for a long time and I go to great lengths to make sure there's never dead air. But I got so absorbed by this article, I forgot where I was for a minute. There's a lot underneath the surface here. I'm sorry, but yeah, go on. There's just a lot happening in my head right now in this article. So yeah, please go on.
well, I did, to be honest, think twice about adding this to our outline because it's like, do we want to have this conversation? Are people interested in listening to this conversation? And I decided yes. Um, because, we've already talked about protein and peeing and creatine, and so this just feels like the natural next topic. But not only can Hole-Tox help with your constipation, it can also increase your pleasure in the bedroom.
Yeah, and I think we could leave it there. I don't think we need to get too into detail about that particular tangent. And that was leading to my silence and consternation as I was kind of thinking, how much of this do we delve into? But there was a quote here at the end, which I think is really odd. I'll just read it and then we can discuss. So the quote is, it's from some medical practitioner. It says, I don't offer this procedure in my practice, and I strongly caution those who do not have chronic constipation to seek this treatment. If you don't have chronic constipation and you get this treatment, it can lead to fecal incontinence, which is the medical term for soiling your pants. This also really does not, this does not comport well with my fundamental understanding of how constipation comes to be, like the driving factor of constipation. I was never under the impression that it was like an overactive anal sphincter.
No.
Like that does not ring true to my understanding of how the GI system works. So that is all to explain away my disbelief and silence as I was digging into this article. But yeah, I would strongly discourage people. We've talked about on the show about incontinence, right? Urinary incontinence. There are some things in nature that exist in such a delicate balance that you do not want to go in like a wrecking ball and say, I'm going to change the balance of this system. And along with the cautious line at the end of the article of saying, hey, do not mess with this. You may find that you are introducing many unwanted side effects. This is not something that I would rush into by any means. Now, I will say this, when they were talking about some of the potential treatment for like fissures and hemorrhoids from constant strain. So kind of like secondary off-label treatment of some of the ramifications maybe of chronic constipation. That is where I started to say, okay, I guess I could see how maybe that fits into the picture and might be the type of thing where the potential benefit could be reasonably claimed to outweigh the potential risk. So I'm not going to say like that I'm out entirely. There are some like interesting off-label uses of Botox or kind of unconventional uses that are not just like avoiding wrinkles, so for one example, I've heard of people who are like really excessive sweaters that if you use Botox in the areas of really concentrated sweat glands, it can actually reduce that kind of overproduction of sweat. So I don't want to be closed-minded and kind of across the board say that there couldn't be some kind of utility in this context, but it doesn't strike me as a plausible cure for like a nearly typical case of constipation. And as they noted, this seems like a very delicate balance that you really don't want to disrupt without thinking very carefully about the risks.
There has been a clinical trial.
Really? Tell me about it.
So, uh, they included patients who had at least one fecal incontinence episode per week for at least 3 months. And it was a fairly large sample. 100 people in the Botox group and 100 people in the placebo group. And the mean number of fecal incontinence and urgency episodes per day decreased from 1.9. How do you have 1.9 urgency episodes per day?
Well, like an average.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay. To 0.8, and from 1.4 to 1 in the placebo group.
Okay. Well, there
Doesn't
you
seem
go.
like there was a significant between group difference. But this is interesting, I suppose.
So that was using this to reduce instances of fecal incontinence, correct?
Correct. So the opposite of what the article was.
Right. It's yeah, that's kind of what I'm driving home here. So that was saying like if you were struggling to hold it in, then this was an effective treatment for that, is what it sounds like.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't want to oversimplify. There can be many, many different causative factors, driving factors, mediating factors when it comes to both sides of the coin here, right? So fecal incontinence, chronic constipation, etc. So I don't want to oversimplify it because the number one rule for podcasting, as everyone knows, is do no harm. I'm not a medical professional who specializes in this topic, but needless to say, the New York Post, they deliver once again. It is certainly interesting, and I don't know about you, but I'm not rushing to get this done. I'm going to wait and see, maybe see if we get a couple of other clinical trials out before I rush in for treatment.
Yeah, I think I'd rather get the earlobe filler given the option.
Yeah, I'll do earlobe. Yeah, if it were I have to do one or the other, I'm pretty adamant about which one I would choose. I'm going earlobe. All right, Lauren. Let's see here. We got a headlines from diabetes.co.uk. Doesn't really roll off the tongue there, but the headline is how TikTok wellness trends mirror remedies from the dark ages. So what do we have here?
Well, you might find this interesting given all of your evolutionary anthropological knowledge and
Sure.
interests.
Yeah.
So apparently, there's an international research team which has collected hundreds of medieval manuscripts featuring medical writings predating the 11th century, saying that some of the medical concoctions could be mistaken for present-day health hacks, including detoxes.
So yeah, it looks like they were using the crushed stone of a peach mixed with rose oil on the forehead to treat headaches. And then a study in 2017 found that rose oil may help with migraines. Another one here is the use of lizard shampoo. So Lauren, back to your mistakes with shampoo. So using pieces of lizard to boost hair health or even remove hair, a modern day version of waxing, it says. So I don't know. As a vegetarian, I would urge you not to put pieces of lizard in your hair unless you felt it was absolutely necessary. I'm nervous, Lauren, if you look at a bottle of shampoo and it says this will help you boost hair health or remove hair. I I'd really prefer that the marketing specializes in one or the other, because to me that feels like I'm getting some mixed messages.
Well, Hole-Tox can do one or the other.
That is true. I stand corrected. Yeah. So, what would you say is kind of the take home point here? Is that just like it seems to be kind of a human trait that we like to kind of lean on fairly superstitious or pretty on the nose intuitive remedies, even in the absence of like strong medical evidence. Is that kind of the take home point?
I think yes, and also people are still promote. I mean, these we can laugh; they sound a little nuts, but a lot of the things that we talk about also sound kind of nuts and aren't evidence based, and in some cases, like neck hanging, are pretty dangerous. So, despite the many, 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 many years of science and medical advancements and collective knowledge, we're still sort of perpetuating advice that isn't necessarily sound or
Yeah,
helpful.
and it's interesting because you could look at it from that direction, which is, we like to pretend that modern humanity, we like to pretend that we've advanced beyond those silly, superstitions and little intuitive but nonsensical hacks. And when we're into the realm of, the age of science, we do rigorous work and find out what works and what doesn't. But another way of looking at it is, one person who was quoted at the end of the article said, we lack a lot of sources for this period, the Dark Ages, um, but basically is making the argument that the Dark Ages were not necessarily at the time characterized by anti-science attitudes. It says people in the early Middle Ages were quite into science, into observation, into figuring out the utility of different natural substances and trying to identify patterns and make predictions. So you could kind of view it as an enthusiasm for science, but a very rudimentary approach to science, and kind of building the foundational elements of, because you got to think about it, before you could kind of build the modern science apparatus, you had to at least start with just a base level of curiosity and some appreciation for the idea of making repeated observations and trying to link cause and effect. So it's interesting. You could look at it both way of either a slightly more pessimistic interpretation is look at us continuing to fall in the traps of using these unproven remedies. You could also look at it as a very charitable view backward and saying, well, look at, the Dark Ages where we tend to assume or like apply some kind of uh, general anti-science attitude to the period entirely. And they're saying, well, not really. It was just, a very rudimentary approach, and the treatments were not very sophisticated, but they were into it. They were taking their best shot at it, getting some reps in so that we could build upon that in future years. So definitely a very uh, interesting look back at some of these remedies. Has this won you over? You going with the lizard shampoo now?
I'm intrigued by the lizard shampoo, but definitely does give me pause that it may promote hair growth or hair loss. I'm not sure
Okay.
that is a gamble I'm willing to take.
Honestly, though, I would even say going back to the Dark Ages, if while we're giving them props about their enthusiasm for science, how about giving them a little bit of credit for their marketing? Because if you tell me this product, listen, I'm going to have you put it on your head, which has hair, and this is either going to have a positive or negative impact on the hair on your head. I have a foolproof marketing campaign. Come back to me and tell me that didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like I'm feeling very good about my positioning and I'm delivering on the claim. So you at least have to give them credit for that. All right, Lauren. Have you ever done goat yoga?
I have seen pictures. I have not participated.
Have you ever done puppy yoga, cat yoga?
I have never done any form of yoga in the outdoors with animals.
Okay. I have seen. I think I've seen yoga where they'll bring puppies or kittens into the yoga studio and do it inside. But point taken. You like to keep your yoga and your animals separate. I respect that choice. But I have bad news for anyone who's really into their goat yoga. It's out. Sorry, folks. It is out of style. not cool anymore. But other things are in. Among them, sleep concierges. So there's an article here from, is this Junie Southern Cross, out of Australia. It says 6 new wellness trends to watch. So Lauren, it's not the new year, but it is a new academic year. So now's as good a time as any for a fresh start. If I want to get my wellness in order as I recover from this surgery and get my life back on track, what should I be doing here?
So there are 6 hot new trends that are replacing, your Saturday goat yoga activity. The first is retreats that delight, not deprive. So instead of these wellness retreats that, make you go hiking and eat vegetable broth, now you get to relax. It's guided meditation, massage, nutritious meals. Sounds nice. The next one is next level hotel collabs. So these are hotels around the world that are transforming to cater to the demand for healthier holidays. So this is, a wellness retreat at a very ultra luxury hotel.
Okay, so I could go to,
wow.
it says Turks and Caicos here, and do some sunrise yoga and Ayurvedic treatments and have some healthy meals. Okay, so what's next here?
Well, and these sleep concierges, well, apparently, they specialize in next level organic beds,
Okay.
dreamy snooze playlists. I'm not really seeing anything about neck hanging, so I think we're good. Um, yeah.
So basically,
Oh, a
somebody,
relaxing herbal soak in a tub drawn by a bath butler.
a bath butler. Wow. So I like to think of like a low budget version of this, which is like some guy who looks like me just kind of walks into your room at like 9 p.m. and says, "Hey, I brought you a Spotify playlist, and this is just kind of like droning, you know, music. It'll be fine. Just want to let you know, your pillows do not have any pesticides, so you're good. Or at least they don't have any non-organic pesticides. They may have organic pesticides. Sorry about that. Also, your bath's ready. I just turned the water on 10 minutes ago, so it's cool." And then I walk out. I'm like, yeah, that, by the way, that's $1,000.
That is
I just,
yeah, because the thing is, it can't be you in your basketball shorts. It's not profesh. It's not ultra luxe.
oh yeah, I'd have to be like charming and handsome, and I'd have to come in like a white linen outfit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay. Well, I'll stick to doing the science then. I don't know if I'm ready for all that. So it looks like number 3 here. Tech that turns back the clock. What does that mean?
Well, apparently, it's possible to, reverse your genetic aging by up to 50 years. There are therapies and targeted biohacks that are unclear.
Can I be
But
honest? I'm like so glad that when I read these articles, I fundamentally have no idea what they're talking about. And it makes me so happy because I didn't have an idea that bad in my head. Like every now and then I have that realization where I'm like, my mind is in such a good spot. I've cultivated it so well that I don't even get what they're getting at. So when I read tech that turns back the clock, I'm so profoundly happy that my brain did not think turning back the biological clock. I just thought they meant, hey, when you come to this retreat, no modern technology. We're just going to turn things back and detach from it and just let your mind rest. Like cell phone in the bag. You don't need your watch. You know what I mean? Like, let's just live very simple, everything analog, detach from your devices. So honestly, my idea is 1,000 times better. I just want to acknowledge that.
I actually agree that your idea is 1,000 times better because these, quote unquote biohacks are a multi-day female wellness program aimed at helping perimenopausal women improve their hormonal balance, It includes supervised fasting, glucose monitoring, and sleep tracking at glamorous locations like the Maldives, Vietnam, and Italy.
Yeah, and to be fair, or to clarify here, when I say I'm proud of my brain for not having that crap in it, I'm not saying I'm proud of me for being super intelligent. I very much am of the belief that you have a responsibility to cultivate your mind and fill it with the things that bring you joy and not fill it with just absolute trash. So basically, what I'm saying is I'm glad that I've cultivated my content diet to the extent that my brain doesn't jump to these terrible ideas. Like I don't have this like giant library of terrible ideas to be cynical about, which makes me really, really happy. I am sorry for you, Lauren, because this is like your life. So sorry about all that.
I'm trying to slowly poison you with all of this.
Yeah, what we're gonna do for all the work you put into this show is once we start making our first dollars, we are gonna send you to the to Turks and Caicos or the Maldives. We're gonna turn your clock back 50 years. We're gonna do all this stuff. We're gonna get you a sleep concierge. I know you've told me off air a lot of times how much it frustrates you to pour your own bath. We're gonna get that taken care of. Gonna get you a butler. So
Bath Butler.
what we're gonna do is have you fill your mind with just complete garbage, turn you into the most cynical person on the planet, use that to generate some revenue, and then we'll try to undo some of the damage later. Does that sound fair?
Great. Yeah, my takeaway from this particular article is that you need to have an exorbitant amount of money in order to be well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just to be in the interest of time, there's no reason to feed a fed horse here, but number 4 is ancient rituals are back with a bang, which means yeah, you have to go to some beautiful place on the other side of the world. Cruises are floating sanctuaries, so yes, you need to go on a super, not just like any cruise, but like a very a very exclusive high-end cruise. And then number 6 is mind-blowing spas at sea. So while you're on the super fancy exclusive cruise, then you also have to go to the spa there and incur those additional charges in addition to your spot on the boat. So yes, Lauren, the takeaway point is if I want to be well, how much money should I be spending on my wellness annually based on this article, do you think? Is this like a $40,000 a year investment in just being okay?
At least, I mean, I don't even think these things include all the treatments that you're going to get. So you need money for the DNA analysis, the vitamin infusions, the massages, the crystals, the sound baths. I mean, I'm sure you have to tip the bath butler. It can really add up.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to contact somebody in the know at Google and say, how many times has someone put into the search bar, how much do you normally tip a bath butler? You know, what's a good bath butler tip? But yeah, this is what's really funny about this is it is such a like microcosm of life of like you could try to build out this extremely resource intensive, wildly expensive way to have a comfortable life and feel like you're living well. And then you could also look at it and say like 99% of this or 93% of this is just completely unnecessary and out of reach for the vast majority of people. So let's instead construct a list that's maybe a little bit more useful. You know, that's kind of the take home point. I tell you what, yeah, if you want to feel good for a week, I do believe that if you're in a spa on the other side of the world in an exotic location with people catering to your every need, I do believe you will feel relaxed. But there's probably other ways to do that, wouldn't you think?
I think there might be, assuming you don't mind drawing your own bath.
And you know what? I'm going to say something here. It's going to make me sound so ungrateful. Okay. So I know this podcast is basically just about making me look bad at this point.
I thought it was about making me look bad.
At my own doing. You look bad as well, but
Okay.
I feel like it's a competition, a race to the bottom here.
Nice.
But in this article, when they say ancient rituals are back with a bang, they have a picture from the Blue Lagoon in Iceland. And I have actually been to the Blue Lagoon in Iceland. And it is interesting. It's a lagoon, very rocky, and it's around it, not in it. But It is water that is naturally heated by, all the underwater kind of geothermal heat in Iceland, because Iceland is like just a giant volcano system, basically. Beautiful country. I can't say enough positive things. Iceland is incredible. I definitely do plan to go back at some point in the future if I can swing it. But anyway, we go to the Blue Lagoon, and all the marketing for the Blue Lagoon is like it is this tranquil, high-end, luxury, relaxing experience, almost like a natural spa, right? So we're like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. We get in, and it's such a, it's a tourist thing, right? So they're shuffling you in these giant cohorts, and you're like elbow to elbow in line trying to shuffle in to get in this pool. Then you get into it, and here's the thing, Lauren, that no one warns you about with Iceland. It is like every day the straight winds are like hurricane force. So they actually will tell you when you rent a car in Iceland, they will say, don't take your hand off the door. If you open the door to your car, your rental car, the wind will blow so hard it will break the door hinges if it's going the wrong direction. And that actually did happen to us. Because as much as someone warns you, it's hard to break an entire life of believing if I let go of this door, everything will be okay. So anyway, Iceland is like at certain times of the year, I guess, or maybe always, just insane levels of wind that will like. So basically, the moral of the story is we're sitting in this thing, and it is cool, and it's hot, and I like that, but we were just getting pelted in the face with frigid wind that was actually kicking up the water such that it would like kind of hurt you as it like sprayed you in the face with each gust of wind. And it was not exactly it wasn't the calming, luxurious experience that you might think. So all that is to say, even when you kind of look at these articles and you're dreaming up, like I'm looking at this picture, I'm like, wow, could you imagine hanging out in that blue lagoon like they are? And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been in that blue lagoon. So maybe some of these treatments aren't all they're cracked up to be, Lauren.
That's a nice way to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah. I will say, like, the Blue Lagoon was cool just because it's like, it's interesting looking, but yeah, relaxing it was not. But I don't want to slander the good people or the good country of Iceland. It's so cool. Go for the nature. Go for the waterfalls and feeling like you're on a fundamentally different planet. Well, there's no plants. There's just moss. It's very weird. It's very cool. Glaciers, you name it. Just a beautiful country, friendly people. I loved everything about it. But yeah, the Blue Lagoon was the one thing where I was like, that was like it was kind of stressful to get pelted with very cold, frigid sprays of water every couple minutes.
I feel like whenever you go to one of those, beautiful natural sites, regardless of where it is, that's going to be crowded, it's never as cool as you are hoping because being packed in with a bunch of other people trying to take photos really takes away from the whole relaxing experience.
Yeah, and I think the underlying assumption that sometimes doesn't go stated with like looking at a natural structure or phenomenon that's supposed to be awe-inspiring, it only kind of works if you're just like hiking through the woods and happen upon it and you're like, "Oh my God, what is this miracle of creation that I'm laying my eyes on?" But when you're kind of like shuffling elbow to elbow with a crowd of people, and
Getting
you're all
whacked in the
wearing,
face with a selfie stick.
yeah, you're all wearing fanny packs and carrying selfie sticks and like kind of just like trying to cross eight things off your list for the day. It really does steal some of that magic. And by some, I mean all.
So, what did we learn in episode 19?
What we learned is if you want to do okay, I'm not saying great, if you just want to be like at a functioning level of wellness, you need to essentially create your own endowment or trust fund, which you can draw down about 4% a year, assuming typical growth, as long as that's invested well. So basically, get a big nest egg of money such that you can draw out about 4% a year, expecting 8 to 10% annual growth in a typical year on that investment nest egg. And make sure that it's big enough that that 4% you're pulling ends up being at least 60,000 a year. Does that sound right?
That's exactly the same math I got. Thank you so much.
Cool. So you can crunch those numbers, but yeah, you want your annual 4% drawdown to be about 60 grand so you can go to Turks and Caicos and have somebody pour you a bath.
That's wellness.
Yeah. No, but what did we really learn? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not a medical doctor. Only do Botox in your anus if someone really, a medical professional says, I'm telling you this is the right move. Anything short of that, and it should be a medical professional who's not financially tied to delivering that treatment. Shy of that, I'd probably wait on that until we get some more randomized controlled trials. Do not hang from your neck. Treat your neck as if it's valuable, because in fact it is. I think that's it. Don't worry about your earrings.
Also, it's not really called Hole-Tox. It's an intrarectal submucosal injection, in case
Right.
anyone was wondering.
But if you plug that into the New York Times translator, it becomes Hole-Tox. All right.
New York
All
Post. New York Post.
right. I always call it the New York Times, and that makes it even better because I'm creating this completely false equivalency, but that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So all right, Lauren, I think that does it for tonight's episode. Anything you want to say to the good people before we leave?
Well, just in case anyone is late on their assignment of bringing in 150,000 of their closest friends into the fold to be part of our community here at Front Page Fitness, we'll give you another week. You think that's fair?
Well, as a person who is back in the classroom teaching, I would say there's no free lunches. So I will accept a late assignment, but there's two options. I can knock a little bit of credit off because it's late, or you can restore for full credit if instead of 150,000, you bring in 180,000.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah. So 180,000 of your closest friends. And honestly, if you don't have 180,000 friends, Lauren, I'm sorry, but you are a loser. So don't be a loser. Go make some friends, bring them to the show.
And share it with people you don't like. They don't have to be your friends.
That's true. Yeah, they'll have to suffer through some of these segments with us. So
quick last note. So I'm planning a long weekend in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was looking up some restaurants, and I came across a Reddit thread, and someone was saying, can someone recommend a really overpriced bad restaurant to recommend to an enemy?
That's really malicious. Yeah.
I like that.
Especially some of those restaurants, like, I didn't realize, I grew up in Ohio. Okay. Suburban Ohio, which basically meant, specifically in the suburbs, any place you go to have a meal, you're either eating fast food or what you're eating is going to be like $14 a plate. Like that's the two tiers of restaurant in suburban Ohio. You're either at fast food or you're at Applebee's or TGI Fridays or Outback Steakhouse, right? But you get older and you travel a little bit and you're like, oh my God, there's some buildings that if you walk in and just said, oh, this will be fine, and you order a meal, you might be making a large financial decision. You know, like you go to a big city, you go to New York, and you're like, why doesn't the menu have any prices on it? It's like, you need to leave. You know, like if that makes you concerned at all, you need to walk out the door. So yeah, that is a truly malicious thing to do. And as a person who appreciates pettiness and malice, I really like that.
Me too.
All right. So everyone, thanks so much for joining us in episode 19, episode 20 on the way for Lauren. We will be back in 7 days. Everyone take care and have a great week.